Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, a major heavyweight boxing match is going down on the 4th of September. A major heavyweight. Two of the top 10 heavyweights, I think we all can agree, are facing off. You got Andy Ruiz, former champion, right? Former unified champion. Remember he beat Anthony Joshua, right? Then came back in the second fight and was just fat as hell and lost, right? But he's 34-2, 22 KOs. We know Andy Ruiz, if motivated, is one of the tip-top guys, right? And he's facing off with the older statesman, the one that most of us agree upon that is good. Some say he's this and that, but this is a Negro League fighter, one that's basically doesn't get the props or love that he deserves, and that'll be Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz. Officially 43 years old, but lots of people, when they're dissing him, says he could be way older than that. So he's 33-2 with 28 KOs, right? These guys are awesome, right? They're top 10 guys. You got to say, listen, when we're talking about the top 10, we got to say, those top 4, we'll leave them out. The top 4 have champions next to their names, or former champions, and that would be Tyson Fury, that would be Alexander Usyk, that would be Deontay Wilder, and Anthony Joshua. We're going to just give them those top 4 spots. Now, Andy Ruiz Jr., seeing as though he was a unified champion, he's got to be in the next 6 from that top 10, doesn't he? Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz has challenged twice for the title. And we also know that, a lot of those people that are in that, the rest of those guys, those other 6, a couple of them ain't trying to fight Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz for years. So, we'd say for the rest would be Andy Ruiz, Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz. That'll give us 6, right? If you want to put Dillian White in there because he's been there around for years, we got to just go and do that. Maybe Joseph Parker, Filip Hrgovic, and your boy, who's the guy? Joe Joyce. Guys like that. To a lesser extent, the Dubois, the Jared Andersons are coming up. But, we're just saying these two guys, Andy Ruiz Jr. and Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz, are upper echelon guys. I would say in the fight between Joseph Parker and Joe Joyce, the winner of that would be the hottest heavyweight besides those top 4. But this one is right there with it, right? Right there with it. Now let's go to Andy Ruiz Jr. first. Right, he's got to be motivated. And I think he's going to be, because after coming in that second fight with Anthony Joshua, right, looking, I'm not going to say lackluster against Chris Arreola. That was just a very good, close fight against Chris Arreola. Those guys threw a lot of punches in that fight. Arreola looked pretty good. So we'll just say Arreola looked pretty good in that fight. Andy Ruiz looked like Andy Ruiz, but he's got to be a little bit more motivated here coming into this fight, and I think he will. A motivated Andy Ruiz Jr. is a problem. As Joseph Parker in his close fight against him, as Anthony Joshua, who Anthony Joshua beat him, and all the guys that Andy Ruiz Jr. has already beaten. So, and he's looking like he's very motivated, because this guy with the fast hands, right, wants Deontay Wilder next. You know what I'm saying? So he's not like, I'm going to face Ortiz, even though it's going to be his first southpaw that he's ever challenged, right, and to fight Ortiz and to want Deontay Wilder next shows me this motivation level, what Andy Ruiz Jr. wants to do. And here's another thing, guys. Andy Ruiz Jr. is a 3-1 favorite versus Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz. So that's telling you what people think about him. You know what I'm saying? That the truth are in the odds always. Everybody else, blah, 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 blah. He's a bum, he's a bum. And then they go to the odds, and the odds say something totally different. Listen to the odds. Because it's like saying something under oath. Right? A lot of people talk smack, right? Act like everything is wrong, especially with our politics today. But have you noticed, half of them don't want to never go say nothing under oath. Nothing under oath. And when they have to go, they plead in the fifth. That means they're lying. That side is wrong. That's what that means. So 3-1 odds is telling you people think Andy Ruiz Jr., no matter what his physique is a bad boy. If he's going to be 3-1 over Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz. Because I don't think everybody would be 3-1 odds versus Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz. I'm just saying, when you could pick out the guy, I'm not sure everybody would be, right? That's not just sitting behind a computer talking smack. Now, Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz, right? He's old, right? We see the age is creeping in on him, This is probably why he's a 3-1 underdog, because just people are calculating that age. We all know Luis Ortiz is good. If not, a whole bunch of heavyweights would have wanted to fight him, and they didn't. Tyson Fury said it. He's a too risk and a reward. He's too much of a risk for the reward you would get for beating him. Tyson Fury still says that to the day. Dillian White was mandated to fight the guy. You know, mandated, but WBC said no. Right? When people are like that, there's only good fighters who, when the people mandate you to fight them and you don't, that means the other fighter's good. Right? Like Luis Ortiz, mandated to fight Dillian White didn't do it. Jamal Charlo, mandated to fight Gennady Golovkin. He didn't do it. Also, the mandatory for Canelo gets a franchise title. Right? Jaime Munguia, mandated to fight Demetrius Andrade. Didn't do it. Canelo at 154, mandated to fight Demetrius Andrade. Didn't do it. So what's the common denominator between Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz, Jamal Charlo, and of course Demetrius Andrade? And Ryan Garcia, mandated to fight Devin Haney. So put him in there. All those fighters that won't get fought are ridiculously awesome. So that's what I'm just saying here. Mandated means, and you don't do it, means something's wrong, because you would do it, because you would make a lot of money too. So, you know, the man Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz has been something for a while. So, but I think he's getting older. He could get, you know, that it can happen within one fight. So we've got to really, really be careful here for Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz. But he's motivated as well. He said he had an awesome training camp. And listen, guys, his goal is still to be the world champ. He's not just out here fighting. He knows Ruiz is a hard opponent, but he's got to get past him if he wants to become a champion. So I'm just saying, guys, the 4th of September is a real major heavyweight fight, and on top of it, it's very significant. It's one of the top 2 fights that doesn't have a title on the line in the heavyweight division, right? So let's just go back and sit back and enjoy these fights that's about to happen for us. Doma Sports Talk, worldwide, and I'm up out of here, y'all.